And we're live.
There it is. Hey! Welcome to Geek News Now. MCU Mondays. I'm excited to be here. As usual, I am always very excited to be here. But my name's Chris. I'm with Debbie. Debbie's over there. Debbie, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You got your notes?
Yes, I did. Thank you
Good.
for letting me do that.
Yeah. Just making sure. Hey, I want to make sure we're all
Totally forgot. I don't have
we're
many
noteworthy.
notes,
This is a noteworthy event that we're doing here.
well,
David Crane. How are you today,
Say
sir?
the name. I'm good.
Are you excited? We're talking about the X-Men today.
No, I am
Well,
not.
we're going to be talking about the X-Men. Before that, we're going to talk a little bit about the Eternals because it's coming up. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. So we want to. The first reviews have been coming out. We're going to talk a little bit about the Eternals. It's worrisome. And then maybe not. We'll talk about it. But then we're going to talk about the X-Men. And if you've been here the last couple of weeks, we've been talking X-Men because we're getting ready for them to join the MCU. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the original X-Men trilogy. Last week, we talked about, First Class, as well as
First Class in the two Wolverine movies.
The two first Wolverine movies, the solo Wolverine movies, Origin and the Wolverine. So today, we're going to be talking about Days of Future Past, X-Men Apocalypse, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. Hey. I mean, yes. But we're also going to talk a little bit about why. I think there were some outlying factors that poured into that, but one way or another, yes. Although watching again, I did get a new appreciation for some of the fight scenes in that. I'll give them that. There were some good action sequences, but my gosh, could have shortened that movie by a hell of a lot. Anyway, we'll get to that. So we're going to be talking X-Men, but before we get into that, let's have our opening theme song. Welcome to MCU Mondays.
Theme song guy.
Oh yeah! It's MCU Mondays on Geek News Now. We're talking about all Geek News Now. Movies and TV and comics, news, product opinions, breaking news and reviews. It's Geek News Now. It's
Oh.
I think that's my new favorite opening. The timing with the first bell when he hits the guy's cheek, and I was and then right there at the end when he throws the bodies. It's just beautiful timing. And that's also why everyone was so angry when in WandaVision you don't just tease the X-Men Quicksilver and then give us nothing. All right. That's why people wanted to see him so badly. Those scenes, we're going to get to that. Because as much as so many people would say that these are some of the three worst X-Men movies, or at least the second two that we're going to talk about are some of the worst, at least one of those has another of those absolutely favorite Quicksilver scenes that I love.
Both
I think
of them
everyone loves. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the Eternals just before we dive into the X-Men. Just the first ratings from the early goers, the preview seers, the critics, essentially, the ultra critics have been coming back, and it's not looking as good. I think I've seen things saying it's rated lower than Thor 2. It's now like the worst rated Marvel film. Now, these are just the critic opinions. We haven't had the fans go see it yet, so who knows what we're going to see. But do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I normally
so
don't listen to critics because usually the stuff that they really, really praise, I absolutely hate. So, yeah, I just like to form I don't even read critics anymore. I mean, I've seen some postings about, oh my God, and like you said, rated lower than Thor 2, which that was that Ragnarok or Dark World?
That was
That was
Dark World.
I like Dark World, so
I'll say this. So Rotten Tomatoes has it at 59%, which
isn't
it's not terrible, but it's not amazing either.
yeah.
But this is just for Chris's benefit at this point. They rated The Last Jedi at 93%. So, and that was only 3% lower than Empire. Now, was it 3% lower? No, it was a lot lower than Empire, but it wasn't.
And there's things all over the place where you look at,
and I thought it was good, but it wasn't 93% good.
And there's other things that you could compare it to, like now comedy specials are even more polarizing than that, but there's some out there that like the critics will be like, oh, 99%, and like the audience rating is like 20%. And then you'll have one where the critics rating is like, oh, this is terrible, how dare you? And then like the audience rating is like 9%. And so it's like, I want to see what the audience rating on this is. Again, this is something where, like, kind of with Debbie, I definitely know what you're talking about. Like, you just get tired of reading
Negative
what
reviews.
the critics say about it. It's like, oh, I need to see this for myself because I have what's my touchstone for who do I trust out there? Like nobody. So I'll go see it, and then I'll tell you, but you don't trust me, so you better go see it. So yeah,
now
that's
one
how
of
they
the
get
things,
people to go see.
One of the things that this compares to is, I've noticed this quite a bit lately, is the Oscar nods. You see the Oscars for Best Picture, and they list like 6 movies, and I can look at all 6 of those movies and go, I haven't even heard of half of these movies. And the other half that I have heard of were in such limited release and did so poorly at the box office. Why are you getting a nod for Best Picture when you've got a movie that made umpteen $billion?
You can't.
Obviously, there's something there because people are going to see it multiple times.
No,
Obviously.
You can't judge just by money spent. The
not money
budgets of
spent.
some of these films.
I'm talking about money earned.
I know. That's what I'm saying. How do you think they earn money? By spending hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising campaigns. Why do you think you've heard of some of those movies and not the other ones? Because those other ones didn't have big budget studios behind them blasting it with hundreds of millions of dollars of advertising all over the place.
It's still crap. I mean, obviously. Yeah. If you've got a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie that's making $1 billion in one sitting,
that's a blockbuster.
That's a blockbuster, but it's also, you look at it and you go, there is something to that movie because people are going back for the story and they're going back multiple. Of course it does.
No, high art is something that the masses can't understand.
People pay for high art. People pay big bucks for high art.
Yeah, so but rich people. No. See, Blockbusters is making money off of poor people. Okay, like everyone that.
Please.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, but
high art goes for like 100 million, blah blah blah, whatever per literal painting or whatever. That's like something that only the elite can do. Going to see a Star Wars film is not something that only the elite can do. Do you know what
exactly.
I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. That's also what I'm saying is like, okay, the Oscars, you've got the Oscars. There's a lot of people that are looking at the Oscars and they want to see it and they want the glitz and the glamour and everything else. They don't want to go in there going, I've never even heard of half of this crap.
Well,
you've got people watching
some of
it
that
on TV.
Crap and see if it's crap or not.
I have.
I can tell you 9 times out of 10, the movies who have won Oscars that I've watched, I'm like, what in the actual hell?
The Return of the King.
The only one in recent years that I really enjoyed was Capote. That was amazing. Capote was great. I love that one. But everything else, I'm like, my wife, God knows I love her, but she drugged me to go see Manchester by the Sea because it was nominated for an Academy Award. Oh, we got to go see Manchester by the Sea. I wanted to gouge my eyeballs out with a rusty spoon. I mean, I was just like, this is the most pretentious. Oh, I sat bored with myself. I wanted to come out of there and start shooting heroin. I was like, anything's got to be better than this. It was awful. I was like, why is this nominated? This is a horrible movie. Oh, because it's artsy. No, it's not.
There's definitely that angle of it, and I know for as many really awesome films that when I went to Cannes that I saw there that I wouldn't normally have heard about, that I ended up seeing, I was like, some of these are really great. Some of them are absolute trash. But that's also like personal opinion. But I know also for a fact that like there were whole categories that I didn't agree with. I was like, why do you have that as a cat? But I'm not gonna dive into that because
That's another show.
it's a whole nother. That's France, I guess, or that's I don't know. But I mean, that's out of the 3 places where they buy and sell films. And I literally went into the international film market and I saw animated, not saw, but I saw like people then just advertising these films for come shoot in Brazil, come buy this film from Brazil, like come shoot here, come do this. And it's definitely the stuff that is being brought to attention for a reason. And yeah, I don't always agree with who wins, but that's why the Oscars and all that stuff have been losing viewership like steadily, like continuously, not just because people don't care, but also because they start getting lectured by, you know, the millionaires who have no idea what it's like to even be a real person. So yeah, combined with all that, why would I care what they have to say? Yeah, I hear that. I'm cognizant of that. I just also, there are films out there that don't get their fair shot because they don't have a giant studio behind them that you never hear of because of that. So I like to give them also their fair shot. Where are we? What's happening? Oh, right. X-Men. I guess we're done talking about Eternals, if you could even call that talking about Eternals. I'm pretty sure we got off topic on that pretty quick.
Until this weekend.
I think it boils down to we're all going to go and make up our own minds, and then
we're definitely going to see it.
We'll let you know how to think about it next week.
We'll share our opinions on it with you, and then you can say, "I don't trust those opinions. I'm going to go see it myself."
That's right.
But anyway, speaking of films, X-Men. Did you like that transition?
Well, they were definitely films.
I think we're probably going to spend the longest amount of time on this one, so we better get into it. Days of Future Past. What an endeavor. That literally combines the old X-Men with the new X-Men. Logan, of course, is just, way to go. But there's so much to enjoy about this film, I think. And when you guys rewatched it, did you rewatch it by any chance? Did you watch the Rogue cut or did you watch the regular?
I watched the regular, whatever's on Disney Plus.
It's almost exactly the same. It's probably not the Rogue cut. The Rogue cut is where at a certain point when Shadowcat is doing the mind thing, Bobby goes with Magneto to Cerebro, where they're holding Rogue and doing experiments on her, and they save Rogue, but Bobby's killed then, and they bring Rogue back so that she can take over because she can absorb powers, so she can take over for Shadowcat. But that's like just a part that if you take that out, it doesn't change the film that much. It really doesn't. A bigger question is, starting at the beginning, since when can Shadow people back in time?
Because they need the movie to work.
When did Professor X get back into his original body? That was before time. He died. He's just there. He's like, hey, I'm Patrick Stewart. Even though we set up the premise, they set up the whole premise. Here is a man who is he has lost all consciousness. He'll never regain brain function. This is just an empty shell that could use a brain. And the whole thing was that when Jean in the first Phoenix debacle shredded him into atoms, he went into that body, and then they never explain how he's just like, hey, I'm back.
I'm here.
It's me.
No big deal.
Call me Wheels. They never do. They never. Whatever. Okay, we're in. We had some cool mutants. Actually, one of my favorites.
Uh-oh. How much you want to bet he says Bishop? Bishop's the favorite. It's actually a smooth lock this time. He's not blurry.
Yeah, not making any cool facial expressions.
No, he's just thoughtful and there.
Well, what I love. Oh, here we go.
Oh, there he is.
I'm back. Maybe. I'm gonna give it a second. Okay, here we go. So I love the teleporters. You know this. This is the portal chick.
Blink.
Oh, I had it wrong then. I had you pegged for Bishop.
I mean, Bishop's cool. I like it, but I love the teleporters and the stuff that she was doing with the fight scenes and that in the future scenes where she's like redirecting attacks and doing all kinds of stuff and sending people through portals.
It's like the fight with Thanos in Infinity Wars.
It's
magic kick,
magic
punch.
Yeah, that kind of thing. I love people that can do portals because I like Nightcrawler too, and we'll talk a little bit about him later. But he has to like grab onto you and do his thing. This is literally like having fun with portals, and she can open. And I don't know, we haven't really seen Doctor Strange do this kind of thing, but like open 3 at once and that type of thing. And like the way that they were using it, I was like, yay, this makes me want to go play the game Portal. So like I really was enjoying that. A lot of fun to be had there. What did you guys think about this film? I mean, obviously they just kind of rolled with it. With the Shadow Cat they never explained that. The time travel powers. They're just like, she has them, so now let's just deal with it.
Well, I think Days of Future Past is probably the best of the worst. One reason I really, really liked it was because you got Stewart, McKellen, McAvoy, Fassbender, all in one movie. I was kind of always hoping, well, when I first watched it, I was hoping that somehow they would all like interact somehow, although that would, be a paradox or whatever they call it.
They kind of
maybe
did,
not, because that's not how
Patrick Stewart did, yeah.
Patrick Stewart talked to himself, but
yeah, that and Evan Peters, Quicksilver, he just makes the whole movie.
Scene. If
that
I
kitchen
could
scene.
catch time in a bottle.
And a great song to go with it.
Yes, of course.
And when they first went down to meet him, he's playing ping pong against himself. So, why are you guys in a rental car? How'd you know we were in a rental car? Check your registration when you're coming through the front door. And just like...
He's like the worst case of ADHD like ever. He's just all over the place.
Well, it reminds me of... In the comics, there's a part where he kind of like explains what it's like to be him to somebody else. And he's like, you ever been waiting in line at the bank and like the most annoying thing ever is happening right in front of you, but there's nothing you can do about it? It's like, okay, that's like my entire life. Do you have any idea how slow everyone else is compared to me? It's like, do you have any idea how long, what a burden it is to listen to someone else talk? When he could just be going at that rate. And so that's kind of the other side. And also, how much better is this version of Quicksilver than what they did in the MCU?
Yeah.
And he was there with his sister.
Mm-hmm.
Stop bothering me. And then his mom says, stop bothering me and go play with your other sister.
Yeah.
And it's like, but she what does she say? She says like, she annoys me, she scares me or something like that. Yeah, it's like because they're talking about a sibling that hasn't even I think that was Wanda, and then the other one was Polaris.
Oh.
Because that's her other sister. Yeah, which hasn't even been introduced in the MCU, and it'd be interesting to see if they take any of these things and run with them, or if it'll just be a huge. But
I'm waiting. I'm hoping there's some kind of redemption there. Really.
This movie, though, to that point, this movie proves that this version of the X-Men will never mesh with the MCU as we know it, because I think it was said right at the first. She goes, oh wait, he sends her back in time. They go in Warner, and then instantaneously everything changes. But that was covered in Endgame when he said, no, you can't go back and change the future and blah 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 and this, no, because then your future becomes your future. And so Back to the Future.
This is just a different multiverse, dude. It's fine.
Okay, fine. Fine, whatever. That's like the Force. The Force is the answer to everything. The multiverse. It's the multiverse. It's the answer to everything.
I mean, in this sense, it is. Good evening.
Hi, Cam.
I also liked Peter Dinklage.
Oh,
what a treasure!
Oh,
I love him.
It's Boulevard
he plays an
Trash.
ass in this movie, but what a joy!
He's amazing.
He's really good at his character there. With that,
any character he plays, he's
anything,
good at.
Yeah, he's an elf. He's an elf, for crying out loud, and he's amazing.
And he plays an ass in that one too.
He does. He plays. he plays an ass very well.
Which one? Oh no, that's the next one. I'm sorry, I just watched all of these in sequence, and I'm like, what happened when?
That's why I had to take notes, because I was like, I'm going to get this all screwed up.
Which especially with Days of Future Past, because they keep switching back and
all over the place.
Did you guys notice? And I don't know if it happened in Dark Phoenix or not, but at least in Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, Star Trek was playing on a TV or a monitor in the background. Anybody know?
I didn't know. Anything about the significance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. Two different movies, and they were both the original series.
Yeah, I did.
Patrick Stewart.
No. That would have been funny.
That would have been hilarious.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't know what episode they were playing in Days of Future Past, because they were in some kind of computer room, and you could just see it on the monitor just off to the side. You could see the bridge of the Enterprise, and you could see Sulu and Chekhov and Kirk. I couldn't really tell what episode that was, but in Apocalypse, you could see it was the episode Who Mourns for Apollo. So I just thought, I was like, I don't know if maybe somebody who directed or wrote the show really liked Star Trek, or if it was just a coinky dink.
Well, probably yes. A lot of writers are nerds, and nothing wrong with that.
Look who you're.
Where are we?
Yeah. Where are we?
There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, a lot of people probably do like Star Trek, and given that Patrick Stewart is like a major part of X-Men, I can see how they would, and with Days of Future Past, they're trying to link up things that would be like currently on TV. I think I know what scene you're talking about. That's basically where Beast is trying to like make his own internet or whatever, and he's got the screens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he's like, I've got all 3 news channels and like PBS or something like that. And Wolverine's like, all 3 news channels, huh? And PBS. Which is great, because like Wolverine's used to be from the future. That's also part of the great thing, is Wolverine's reactions to different things. Like the first time his claws come out and they're like not metal, he's like, oh right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then when he gets to that metal detector near the end and it doesn't go off, and he looks at it, he's like, oh yeah. And then there's a great just scene where Magneto threads the rebar through him in a foreshadowing awesome villain moment also, like just whoosh, and then throws him into a lake to die, which also is just like Magneto. Okay, first of all, if Magneto can pick up that stadium, how is he ever imprisoned in the Pentagon? Couldn't he just like how far what how okay.
How far underground?
I guess
was
that
it?
elevator went really far down and apparently had no metal in it. I don't.
It was.
He
it
picked
was,
up a stadium and like carried it. He flew with it.
It was
He
Willy
did that,
Wonka's
but he was
great
like,
glass
"Oh, we
elevator.
kept him underneath the Pentagon." That's like, well, don't think about that. That was earlier in the movie. Don't think about that now. Which was awesome too. Like, I didn't want to be thinking bad thoughts about him doing that because I'm watching him pick up the stadium and then use it to like create that barrier, which was an awesome scene. You have like the cop cars like seeing it from inside, like looking up through the windshield of the cop cars, and then have it just fall down and like create this unbreakable perimeter. It was awesome, but
I need some more explanation there.
what? It's very far underground, and that's why they had Quicksilver save him, so they could say, "Well, yeah, that's why he had whiplash." What are you doing? I'm holding your head so you don't get whiplash. What? Whiplash. And yeah, and then that scene where that was amazing. I think the Flash is going to have a tough time living up to, because I think that movie and Apocalypse kind of like did some of the best speedster moments.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And we'll talk about Apocalypse in a second, but that's good stuff. I mean, Days of Future Past, absolutely. Apocalypse, they take it even further because it is 10 years later. I don't know. Let's finish talking about Days of Future Past if that's even possible.
You know, one thing.
Mystique. Okay, David, talk about what you were going to talk about.
I was going to say this was also the first time we got to see the Sentinels, and that's always been a big thing among the fans. And a big thing in the X-Men, and the fans were like, "We want Sentinels, and we got them." And I honestly, the way they were portrayed, I think they did them justice, and I think they were exactly the way they needed to be.
They looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, you don't try and think too much about the science of this, but I'm like, what year was this happening in the 80s? There's no
it was the 70s.
Yeah, the 70s. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. So we're in the 70s. And they're like, there's not a bit of metal in this. It uses space-age polymers. And I'm like, what's conducting the electricity? Shut up, you. Quiet. Just enjoy. And then you get a great scene so you just accept it. You take it fine. There's that, whatever. In this X-Men universe, they've got these Sentinels and there's no metal in them. So how could Magneto possibly beat them? And then Magneto's like, hey, screw you, because I'm Magneto and I'm always awesome. Which he is in every movie. You can say this, well, Magneto was awesome. Find me an X-Men movie where you're like, well, I didn't like Magneto. Find me one. And I'll be like, what?
Well, he's a bad guy. You can't like him in all of them.
Well,
you're not supposed to like
Darth Vader. There you go. So villains that you can enjoy a villain. I'm just saying, like, he was awesome. Like
Zemo
was great. Because there have been bad villains, like Whiplash or whatever. The actual, did you like him? No. You'll lose, Iron Man. You'll lose.
What about Zemo?
Well, Zemo dances, and I didn't like Zemo. So, exactly. That proves the point that not every villain is likable, even though everyone else seemed to love him. What, Zemo's great? Let's not get into a Zemo debate.
My gun.
Oh.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang!
Wow.
Take him out. Oh. Days of Future Past.
I don't know if this was done intentionally or if it was the complaint by Jennifer Lawrence, but you noticed her Mystique makeup. The blue is a lot lighter.
Well, yeah, and she has like 2 scales on her face. They like stop and she spends a lot more time looking like Jennifer Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you
Which,
mentioned
if
something.
you are you know what the whole thing about being Mystique is? You're mysterious. No one knows what you're going to look like. The whole thing with making her the face of mutants is just, this is the worst timeline. Because that's what she ends up being. They're like, oh, she's my hero. The one that you never know what she because she could be anyone? Okay. Come on. Ugh.
But you said something about that too earlier. I don't know if it was last week or week before, to where, Jennifer Lawrence just didn't want to wear the makeup. So there was obviously a lot of, and as I'm watching Days of Future Past, I'm looking at it going, Kelsey Grammer put on the blue makeup for one scene.
That scene at the end, which was
lines.
Great. And he laughs. Dude, I cracked up
I was like,
when that
now
scene
that
came
is
on.
dedication right there. He's going to put on the blue makeup and, do all the crap just for two friggin' lines.
Combine those timelines, which also, I don't even know, because we had, which is another reason why when we then see Jean Grey, I'm like, that, I don't like Sophie Turner. Are we done with Days of Future Past yet? Do we have more we want to? I know there's more. There's tons more. But we could spend.
Well, the thing is, with these three movies, you can kind of because there's some consistencies, and then there's others that you're like.
Well, they say that this one is the one where the timeline changes, right? Like at this point in time would be where it splits off. Well, excuse me, in X-Men First Class, Beast has a formula to repress the X gene. That doesn't fit in with the original timeline at all. They never mention anything like that. They just try and act like it's a thing that happened. But in X-Men 3, when he first sees it, he's like, this is blowing my mind. Someone who can stop this is blowing my mind, which
you should know about this
because
already.
you developed an original strain of this from Mystique's. And then that leads into the whole thing that they did with rewriting Mystique's story, which was just, she should not be the heroic, or maybe not, but that making her that, it takes away from her Mystique. When you put that much focus on her all the time and make her like I'm the fighting for mutant rights person, like, no, she's your assassin. Stop it. She's your Snake Eyes. Don't make Snake Eyes talk. Stop making Snake Eyes talk. I think it's pretty much the same thing. What do you think about that? What do you think about the whole?
They had the star power of Jennifer Lawrence. They had to use it.
They did. How unfortunate for them.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
We locked her into a contract. We did it.
Woo! We've got an Academy.
Oh no, she like wearing the makeup. Oh no.
We've got an Academy.
We're gonna write a story around her. Okay. Oof, I don't even
so that you said she doesn't like wearing the makeup, but you know what though? They do it on movies all the time, and it really. They did it with Judge Dredd. Was one of the biggest offenders with Sylvester Stallone. It's like we've got this huge A-list actor, and we cannot have him wear his helmet for the entire movie. And it's like, why? That's the way the character is. If
Did you like the Keith Urban one?
Oh, I enjoyed the Keith Urban one. Yeah, I did.
Me too. Yeah.
But
Carl?
He kept it up.
Carl.
Oh my God.
I was like, are we talking about the singer here?
Yeah, Carl
Urban. Yeah.
But
Sorry,
but they
Carl.
did the same thing with the with this newest Power Ranger movie. They made them into the Power Rangers, but their masks, you could see through their masks, so you could see their faces. We want to see your faces. It's like, no, that's not the way this works. They did it in Rogue One when Jen Erso put on the landing pilot's helmet and was walking around and she could open up the visor and look around. No, quit showing your actors' faces off. That gives you away.
Yeah.
You're revealing too much. Stop.
You're a spy. Be a spy.
Exactly. Spot on.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of my problem with the whole Jennifer Lawrence Mystique. I think in a nutshell is that, they're too often relying on her as a plot device, relying on her as an emotional device, relying on her. That's not what Mystique is within And it's an interesting way to go about it, maybe, but it also didn't make sense that why would Mystique make the Sentinels more powerful? Now, in the Rogue cut, they're like experimenting on Rogue to give the Sentinels the different powers, and that kind of made sense. But without that, it's just like Mystique suddenly, no, you would need Rogue to give the Sentinels different powers. Mystique can change how she looks, but she can't absorb powers. So, like, that whole thing, that was another thing. Like, so the leaps in logic might make a little bit more sense in the Rogue cut, but still, there's tons of nonsense happening. Let's move into Apocalypse. Because even at the end of Days of Future Past, I guess we'll talk about the end scene for, yes, we see Beast, and we see Jean, we see Cyclops alive. Yeah, so all these people alive, so having survived Storm alive, it sets up a very different future than what you got from the original X-Men Last Stand. And that's even what he says when he goes in and talks to Wheels is... he's like, yeah, you don't you have a class to teach, Logan? A class? That's history. I might need some work on that. Yeah, it's like ever since like this day, and that's when Professor X is like, "Oh, welcome back, my friend." And that to me was like a moment leading up almost to the movie Logan.
Yeah,
is like they've been friends over timelines throughout. Things that other people don't even know happen. There's this connection between Professor X and Logan, and I think at the end the Essex Corporation takes some blood. Yeah, they recover blood from the scene of. Oh no, wait, that's
Days of Future Past.
So,
but
yeah, Mystique also is Colonel Stryker when.
When they recover him from the river. That's kind of a good pose.
Yeah, I like it.
You never know. You never know what you're going to get. Live every moment like you might get frozen in it.
Oh, that's deep.
Oh, man. Am I?
Yeah, you're golden. You're good.
You're good.
All right, so Apocalypse.
Well,
what do you guys think? What are your thoughts?
Okay. Michael Fassbender. In
Fantastic
this one,
Magneto.
Oh my God, he was amazing. When I hate this movie, and it's cringe. It's cringeworthy for me. You said we need to go watch it again for this, and I'm like, maybe I don't want to be on the show tonight because I don't want to watch this movie. But that scene where the police confront him and they kill his wife and daughter, and the way he reacts and the way that he does things, I'm just like, oh my, dude, you're spot on.
Yells to the
yeah.
And then that also reinforces that relationship between him and Professor Xavier, and like that he's not just pain and suffering, because in that situation, I mean, my goodness, an accidental arrow release that kills both your wife and child in the same one shot, and he murders all of them and like screams at the skies like, is this
what you want from me?
Is this all that I am? And then he just gives in to those worst parts of him. And they even have flashbacks from, I think, First Class in this.
Right. With the gate and
the
gate.
Concentration camp. They literally take him back to the gate. But then later, I mean, he's thinking about when he was actually friends with Professor Xavier, and they were working on when he was like his most powerful, and that was, like, don't give in to like the worst parts of you. You're more than just your pain. Like, you're more than that. And actually, when we see him in Dark Phoenix, he's trying to do that again. And there are some good parts of that movie, but we'll wait. Not many, but that's one of them.
Hold on.
Yeah, Apocalypse. But yeah, oh, absolutely. And that, but it does drive him to his, lowest point in this. Makes him absolutely ripe for the plucking. Not that. Did Apocalypse? He couldn't control minds. Like, what's the deal with that? He just gave people. He enhanced their abilities.
He could enhance their abilities, yes.
And so then they followed him willingly, and that's why he wanted Professor X's ability so that he could just control everyone's minds.
Right. He was able to use himself. How did he say it? Like a conduit, to where with Professor X he could talk to all the other mutants. But if you're going to destroy the world and rip everything up from its foundation and all the metal in the core and mantle and everything, I got news for you. There ain't going to be very many survivors, if any.
Mutants.
So,
Apocalypse.
He also had some sort of.
He was all about the survival of the fittest, basically. He only wanted the best of the best. And if you couldn't, I guess his thinking was if you couldn't survive it, then you were not worthy anyway. So,
yeah.
I was reading an interesting thing. This one was supposed to be called Age of Apocalypse, but they didn't want to confuse it with Age of Ultron, which had come out the year prior, and Age of Extinction, which was coming out the year after. Transformers Age of Extinction.
Yeah. Too many ages.
Too many ages.
Call it Apocalypse. It'll be apocalyptic.
They'll know what people will know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So also in this movie, Quicksilver. Had him again. Well, let's talk about Scott first. Let's talk about because there's so many other things we haven't even. So Apocalypse wakes up, and again, this movie too long.
2 hours, 2.5 hours, give or take.
Too long. They crammed too much into it. They made things too long. They had too many mutants that they didn't need. I don't know. It was too long. It didn't need to be this long. You could have cut it out at least a half an hour. But, I mean, they had so many different things. I liked that they included some things like Moira, bringing her back from the CIA agent, from her part in this. I like that. But, like, Caliban and a bunch of the stuff with Mystique, again, like, the fact that you had to have this whole Mystique storyline, you could have cut a bunch of that out. Let's make it about Apocalypse. This doesn't have to be about Mystique. She's not even the cause of the Sentinels or whatever at this point. Like, let it be about something else. But no, it has to be like, oh, I saw you. You're an inspiration. Every single character has to tell her that she's an inspiration and that they're fighting because they saw Mystique. And it's like, this is unnecessary. And it doesn't fit in with Mystique's character. And she is Nightcrawler's mother. So are you ever going to explain that?
It's the
Nightcrawler's the child of her and Azazel.
Yeah.
And Azazel's
dead.
Yeah, which Magneto says, or at least in this timeline of the multiverse. But yes, Azazel's apparently dead, and he had been around since biblical times in the comics. People thought he literally had demon blood. When they smell sulfur when Nightcrawler disappears, because they, hell. But Azazel and Mystique gave birth to Nightcrawler, as well as some other ones. But who knows? Mystique had several different. Oh, but she couldn't appear. Oh no, she's too busy focused on her mission in this. She couldn't. Oh, she wouldn't just be immoral and having sex with whoever. No, she's
she's goal oriented.
She's a symbol, and she's so all over the place herself. It's ridiculous. Apocalypse. She's constantly ragging on everyone. I'm like, you're not that great.
So, what did you guys think of Oscar Isaac in this?
It's a tough one for him. For anyone, I feel like it would have been a.
That's a those are some big shoes to fill.
They had him literally talk only in whispers or in screams. And so he'll either be whispering or he'll be screaming. And then when he screams, they just threw on like the dubstep effect to his voice.
Mm-hmm.
Just like vibrating and just like, oh, that's, ooh.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of sad because I like Oscar Isaac as an actor. I've seen him in other things, and I think he's really good. But
it also wasn't.
I just don't know what they were thinking. I didn't like the his makeup costume, whatever you want to call it. I didn't like it at all. I think they got that all wrong. I don't know if you guys agree or not, but
oh no, you're right. You're absolutely right. Also, I think with Apocalypse too. So, Apocalypse is for the X-Men like Thanos is for the Avengers. He is like the ultimate big bad. You can't really do just one movie. Not necessarily with him. You need to do him like they did with Thanos, to where he needs to be the big bad spread out over several movies, and then they have the final confrontation at the end. Because he's been causing all of this, he's been behind the scenes pulling strings and everything else. And
my major complaint was he didn't seem like a threat in this movie. I mean, he just kind of recruited people and
he destroyed an entire city. Looking at it and made the. Did you see when he destroyed the city and he made that huge pyramid? Do you think those buildings were just empty? You think that city was evacuated? He murdered so many people. Then he used Magneto, enhanced his power to help him destroy the Earth. He was an apocalyptic threat. Yes, he was Yes, he was a threat. He was a threat.
Okay, so here's another problem too.
Debbie,
you've got.
What do you mean? He was not a threat.
He wasn't a threat. He didn't seem that threatening. He did.
I wasn't scared of him.
The ball's on you, Debbie.
Well, because he looked like.
I will be talking for myself. This is an open and shut case, and anybody who can't see that is a savage and an idiot. Okay.
Oh, Lordy.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Also, how did Beast fly that plane around in there? You've got Magneto magnetizing everything, but that plane flies just fine. That's not the way magnets work.
It's a space age polymer. Just like in your class. That's what I do. Every time I think of it now, I'm just like, oh, that must be a space age polymer. Well, how does the electricity work? It's a space age
polymer.
Well, how come Nightcrawler suddenly can't teleport through electricity? It's a space age
polymer.
Right next to a huge steaming bowl of foreshadowing.
I just missed Deadpool. Hopefully we'll get to have him in future versions of the X-Men. What did you think? I think, okay, Apocalypse. I didn't like Jean. I don't like Sansa Stark. I don't like the actress. I don't like her American accent. I don't like her Jean. What'd you think of Jean? And I don't see how that Jean turns into...
She doesn't look anything like her.
It's not...
I mean, you can get away with having Scott not look like Scott in the future.
He kind of looks like Scott.
I mean, he kind of does, but really you've got half of his face covered up.
Exactly.
So you can get away with it. Whether he looks, he's got different colored eyes. How do you know? You don't know.
They didn't even give her even close to the same shade of hair.
She was okay. I mean, nothing to write home about. I like Sophie Turner. I liked her in Game of Thrones, although I hated her character. But as Jean, she was just okay.
Here's how good she was. When it came to Dark Phoenix, and we went to go see Dark Phoenix in the theaters, I had to lean over to my son and say, is that Jean? I mean, I know that's Jean, but was Jean in the other movie? Because I could not remember anything about her. Anything. I didn't even remember what she looked. Is that the same girl?
She doesn't.
She's not very. She's very lackluster.
She doesn't emote that much. Which when we get to talk about Dark Phoenix, there's part of the thing is she's trying to keep control, but then when you're losing control, wouldn't you see more? They do more with like special effects on her face than her actually having an emotion, and I'm just like. But then we're getting into a whole Dark Phoenix thing, so let's stick on Apocalypse just for now. Storm, thought she was pretty good. I
don't like her accent.
Well, I think they were trying to show that she was more because when you see her later, she's been teaching at the school or whatever for years. So this is her coming right off the streets of Egypt. So she's got an accent.
So what? She just completely loses her accent?
Eventually, sure. It's possible.
When she turns into Holly Berry, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever that happens.
I don't like it when they do that in movies.
Which timeline, Stewart or McAvoy? These timelines are getting ridiculous. But yeah, other than her accent, I think that, frankly, they just don't. They really don't give Storm enough power in so many of these. In Days of Future Past, they pretty much had her explode the engine on the jet when they threw it into the Sentinels, and that made a huge explosion. And then she gets killed right after. And then in this one, she does some stuff with some lightning. She does some lightning shots, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But I don't know. Come on, Storm. And so. Then actually, I think in Dark Phoenix, I think they give her best showing when she actually blasts all the aliens or whatever off the roof of that thing. I was like, now that is what I've been looking for. Where has that been? She's really... so maybe they're just trying to show she's younger. She doesn't have as much power. She's not as used to it. She doesn't know exactly what to do. But Storm is like one of the top level mutants. Like when you think of up there power sets, like I expect to see like her being able to face off against some pretty powerful people, and she kept getting shut down by fairly pathetic people. Psylocke was cool. I like
yeah. Somebody's commenting on Psylocke already.
Oh, Psylocke. Well,
we've got a bunch of comments popped.
Hey, Hofcast. I have not seen you for a while. I used to do a show with him. He said Psylocke, wowza. Yeah. Was that Olivia Munn? And she plays actually a reporter in Iron Man 2 who's reporting on the expo. So multiverse event. Oh, look out!
It's a variant. Oh, they can. Kevin Feige confirmed it. So he went back and said, "Oh, of course, yeah, we planned it."
Yeah, that was Psylocke. Just like that was Quicksilver. 3 is the rule of comedy. So,
poor Peter.
Yes, it has. It's good to hear from you. Good to see you. So yeah, right now we're talking about X-Men Apocalypse. And we finally found out how Professor X lost his hair. It was his fight with Apocalypse. I was like, that's good storytelling right there. That's like as good as when Han Solo got his last name in Solo. Totally necessary. And something with not just an event, not just, part of the character, but something that we should see in a film. Yeah.
Or how Wolverine got his jacket.
The effects were awful for that.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't.
That was it was really unfortunate. It was one of the more unfortunate scenes of that film. I'm just watching that and I'm just like, we didn't need this. It could have just been time. It didn't need to be the reason Professor X lost his head was because of Apocalypse. So did this happen in the original timeline too? They fought Apocalypse and just never showed it? Like that was just something that had already happened, but the world didn't know about mutants somehow. Nah. Okay, well, before they reset the timeline, he lost his hair because of age. After they reset the timeline, he lost his hair because of Apocalypse. Because
and
we gotta explain unnecessary shit.
and how did he show up after the Age of Apocalypse with a bald head, walking to pick up all the ones that had escaped from 3 Mile Island in X-Men Origins?
And here's
and he looks like Stewart too.
Another great point. He got crippled on the beach. But if I take this thing, it's not heroin. If I take this injection, it's not. But if I take that, I can walk again because it represses the mutant gene. And when my mutant gene is repressed, my bullet wound is healed. Why?
Makes no sense.
What are you talking about? Look at this one, though.
Oh, there you go.
Both Trekkies.
Yeah,
That's why. That's got to be why.
interesting.
There's a lot of Trekkies out there, too. And, of course, Patrick Stewart is so involved in so many of this. Yeah. At least for that reason alone. You got to give him some respect. But, yeah, end of Apocalypse. Oh, okay. So this one also did have a Wolverine bit. So
a cameo of sorts.
Weapon X has been unleashed. Weapon X has been unleashed. Weapon X has been unleashed. Hey, everyone. That's Weapon X.
No kidding. Should I call you Weapon X, Logan? No, Wolverine, baby. Schniggity, schniggity.
The blood starts flying.
What was that thing on his head supposed to be doing?
Well, I think he was a mind-controlled thing beforehand. Like, they were using him to just, like, commit atrocities or do mind control stuff. That was, like, camera and, like, gear so they could monitor him. And then Jean just set him loose without any control. And so,
she gave him a few memories.
Yeah.
Well, first, he just murdered everyone. And they followed him. And then he kept murdering people, and they were like, let's keep following him. And then he was like, I'm going to murder some more people. And then they followed him. And then they get to a hatch, and he's going out the hatch, and they're like, wait, now stop. Since you've murdered everyone, that objective has been completed. We can escape now, but I would like to help you regain some memories if possible. And Scott's like, Gene, don't. And Wolverine's like, And I'm like, get it? Because that's their relationship. And then, but yeah, she takes the helmet off him and gives him some memories. But even at the end of Apocalypse, it comes down to, well, I guess we didn't really even talk about the Quicksilver scene, did we?
Like I said, Saving Grace.
Saving Grace, yeah. It's so good. Because this one, they even knew. They were like, you know what people really liked about Days of Future Past? Not all that time travel bullshit. They were confused by that. They didn't like it. People don't like being confused. They like feeling smart. Watching that guy run fast, boy, they felt really smart. And I love it. It's great.
Great song too, Sweet Dreams.
And they did it again. They literally started this one with like a bumblebee flapping its wings. It's like, oh. Boom, he goes in, saves everyone. Pretty much saves everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this guy's awesome. He does some hilarious stuff along the way. He does the moonwalk. He's just like, he's looking at things that are happening. He's like, while an explosion is happening right next to him, while he still has lives to save. It's just like his personality that comes through in this character is very...
The expression on his face when he sees those two and the guy's about to kiss her. The one you showed in the intro. He's like, I'll save
Here's
this.
Debbie and Chris. That's how the timing worked out. You know what?
Theme song guy.
Oh, yeah! It's a Mondays on Geekers Now. We're talking about all of Geekers Now.
Yeah. He saves the fish. He scoops him out of the air, puts the bowl into the kid's hand, throws the kid out the window, throws everybody out the window, sets up drapes to catch them. The dog's eating the pizza. He's running with the dog through the dog says.
It's just,
they do the same thing with Beast or Hank. He's in his Hank form because they're doing that with him. He's like,
it's just a great scene.
it's fantastic. And that's why when you get to the next film and they take him out of the show immediately, it's like, well, this is gonna suck.
They killed everybody in the first.
Apocalypse. Are we done with
That pissed me
Apocalypse? We got to go into the last one by now. It's already so. Let's go into Dark Phoenix. Yeah, he gets a little bit of shine time in the space shuttle thing. I guess also, do you want to talk about the scene where Mystique says, "I got that's actually after the shuttle scene." It's just kind of what a movie. They keep trying to make Professor X like the bad guy, and he's not.
You know,
I see the other side of that with the, but also, what is the Phoenix? Was that something? Because she had it in X-Men Apocalypse. There's the clear Phoenix. That's the force that she uses to beat Apocalypse. And then there's this. Oh, it's not a solar flare. That's the energy that started the universe and killed the unit. So, is that the Phoenix Force, or is she the Phoenix Force, or together that's now the Phoenix? It was drawn to her because. Well, we're never going to explain that because we never have to make another movie because we just got bought out by Disney. Look, this movie was off the rails pretty much for a long time. It's such a mess.
When this movie first came out, my Luke, my son, he was real big into buying the. He wasn't buying the comic books. He was buying the trade paperbacks. He was like, I want to get the whole story. So he bought one. You know, he bought the Infinity Saga. He bought the Days of Future Past. And he was reading all of this stuff. X-Men versus Avengers. You know, he was just really into it. And, of course, he had Dark Phoenix. He had the Dark Phoenix Saga. And before the movie came out, we watched the X-Men cartoon show. And of course, they had the whole thing with the Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yep.
And we watched it, and we watched the movie, and we walked out of that movie, and he goes, "That was terrible." He said they didn't use anything. There was nothing out of either one of those stories that they used in this one. Why did they change it? The story was good as it was. And this is coming from this movie's been out for 3 years now. This is a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
From the mouths
of babes.
That's right.
So my question is, and I forgot to look it up, but where in the timeline is this movie supposed to take place? Is it
What
like
year?
a few years after
I think it's in the
Apocalypse
90s.
or in the 90s?
Well, it would make sense because you had First Class happen in the 60s, Days of Future Past technically in the 70s, then Apocalypse in the 80s. So sure, jump ahead 10 years, 93.
I think it was, yeah.
About the same time Captain Marvel came and visited our.
But it's the same timeline, or after they've changed the timeline. It's on
it's that
timeline.
continuation of from
First Class or Apocalypse.
But
because it's got that storm.
Maybe I'm not understanding because at the end of Days of Future Past, Logan sees Jean.
Yes, he does.
So if she If she died in Dark Phoenix, how the
I
hell
don't
did
know.
she-
What?
That's one of those things that with the X-Men, you just throw it up. How come when Hank came up with the cure for he was like, well, I don't know. How come she's back? How come Professor X is back in his original body, even though he got disintegrated? How did Wolverine get his metal claws back after in the Wolverine he clearly got them sheared off? There's no explanation. Just roll.
No. There's an explanation. Multiverse.
Well, no,
that's the answer for everything. Multiverse.
No, not for this though, because this is supposed to be one supposed timeline.
Oh well,
You know what I mean?
There was a
because
variant
even
there.
in the multiverse, in any multiverse, there's
It's a Loki variant.
timelines within.
There was a variant, and they reset the timeline.
No, because this is a Fox-made show, so you have to take that into consideration. So in this reality, there are no Marvel characters that Fox doesn't own. At least until they figure out, and now we're going to see how, but then, no, that couldn't have been. In this version.
I always wondered if I totally missed something, or maybe I fell asleep. I don't know, but yeah, I was just.
We all agree with that. Making Mystique Xavier's stepsister was dumb and lazy. Yeah, it was stupid. We talked about this earlier in the show. I'm not going to go into another tangent on it, but because I feel like that's probably how we got this far without. I'd probably spend a good 10 minutes laying in.
He's been able to blow off some steam, so we're good.
Well, it's ridiculous, okay?
Of course it is.
And we know. It's a mess. And those movies, again, like each of these was very long. They could have each been at least like a half hour shorter. And
or in the case of Dark Phoenix, not even made at all.
Yeah. And then they end that with like, oh, the Phoenix comes back. I'm just like, oh, that's how they explain it. She'll be back. She'll look like Jean.
Yeah, she'll be back. She'll rise from the ashes and look completely
right
different.
now, but she doesn't.
I'm not saying that from the ashes of captivity never has a greater Phoenix metaphor been personified in human history.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't
what
like
the aliens. Did they ever explain what they were? No, they just have powers. That's just there are aliens following. They never explained the aliens.
It's the scroll.
Did they even say what they were called?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so. I thought maybe I missed it.
Nope. There's just a scene. First of all, they show up. They look weird, but you never actually get to see them because they can just apparently take the form of whatever. They also have, I guess, telekinetic powers because they keep like crushing people or whatever. And they refer to humans as like a primitive species that couldn't. And so apparently that's the entire explanation. Because that was the other thing. I was like, okay, so Jean could take in this force, which isn't the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force, well, that's never even explained. What is the Phoenix Force? Well, we're not going to get into that. Was it the thing inside Jean? No, she's just really bad. Was it that solar thing? Well, that's not even what that was. What? Never fully explained. The aliens were following it. This thing apparently destroys planets, but supposedly also the chick with the white hair, or at least that's the form she takes. She's one of the aliens. She could take it in. Could any of them have? If so, how did it destroy your planet? When it hit your planet, the first person would have been like, I'm going to be God now. And just absorb it. If you guys can absorb it, if you're an advanced species, if humans are so primitive, one of them, blah, blah, blah. What? This is even more stupid than all the stupid stuff that we've covered in the last hour. And there's been plenty of stupid stuff. This is the stupidest and worst thing ever. And then Oh, and you have a spaceship. They show the spaceship at one point. It's bigger than either of the You have spacecraft. You don't have any sort of firearms, be they energy weapons or nothing. They just run at you like zombies, and they can take a lot of damage, but not an infinite amount. Then they die. What? Okay, so they're just generic enemies. That's literally, if I were to describe the villain in this movie, I'd be like, we're going to throw generic zombie enemies at them, but they're not going to look like zombies. They're going to look like people, and they're actually aliens. So in that way, they're not zombies, but these are they just keep chucking them. How many are there? I don't know. Why don't they use their landing crap? Did we defeat them when we... I don't know. It's it's a mess.
A hot mess.
That was
the plot of this movie is just a disaster.
I don't even know how this movie even got approved with
heard
the writing and just like you said, the plot.
They had to get Jennifer Lawrence in the blue makeup one more time.
Thank goodness they killed her.
Thank God.
When I was watching that scene, I thought of you, Chris. I was like, I bet he enjoyed that. He was probably cheering in the background.
Kill her on the space shuttle. Because they ruined her character. She's not even Mystique anymore. She's Jennifer Lawrence. I'm glad they killed Jennifer Lawrence.
No, she's Raven. She's Raven.
Raven, right.
I've always known her as Raven.
She's not Mystique anymore. She's Raven. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. This new timeline is worse than the old one. At least the old one had Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
And the Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut, bitch.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
That's in the first X-Men. That's one of my favorite scenes of all time. I think and it really well conveys Logan. And that's also back to Days of Future Past, the best one of these three movies we're talking about. One of the best things about that was Wolverine walking around knowing stuff. Like the first time he goes to the X-Men mansion, he knocks on the door and Hank, not Beast, but Hank, because we're
suppressing.
There's no yeah, exactly. And he's like, "Oh, come on, Beastie, come on, let me see a little beast." He makes it freak out. And then he's like, "Oh, you know what? I think I do remember you."
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher. Charles Xavier. Go fuck yourself.
You know, and we were talking about this offline last week, and Debbie had brought it up because Days of Future Past is the only one right now that's not on Disney Plus. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, I'm wondering if because of that scene, that's the reason why it's not on Disney Plus, because it had that worded. But he said the same thing in No. First Class is the only one that's not on Disney.
Yeah, I was going to say no.
That was from First Class, but yeah,
so that was from First Class. But I'm wondering, that's what I was thinking was like, okay, maybe that's the reason that First Class is not on there because of that line, and they're not going to put that on Disney.
There's some F word in all these,
and all of them.
Yeah,
I was like, because I was rewatching them again today, I was like,
Apocalypse.
Oh, that's not the reason then.
I'll effing kill you. Yeah. Dark Phoenix. Yeah, Cyclops says it in that one.
Well, all
because
the movies were on there at one time, and then all of a sudden some of them just disappeared, because I know I've watched during my usual 2 or 3 or 4 times of a Marvel rewatch during the year. I've watched those movies the X-Men movies on Disney Plus, but this
Yeah.
time around I had to go buy them on Vudu in order to watch them because
Well,
they weren't on Disney.
Now, First
Not
Class.
these movies, the other movies.
First Class was on Freeform, because that was one of the places that I caught it was Freeform, and so I'm wondering if that's one of those licensing things to where Freeform's got the license for right now, so that
For
they
right
can
now,
play.
it's a distributing. Yeah.
Distributing. Yes.
So my film history professor, when I was going to school, was like, and this was only a couple years ago because I finished college late. But anyway, he was saying, be wary of the streaming services. What's available now will not be available forever. It's licensing. It's and if you literally right now, what's available on Netflix in America is different than what's available in the United Kingdom.
Mhm.
And if you can check that out and see what the differences exactly are, but like that's exactly the kind of thing. And so, for instance, Disney owns how many different things? Does that mean that they're all available to stream? No, it doesn't. So get your hard copies. Oh, if
Like
you really or back it up,
Yeah,
if you will. So yeah,
they gotta it's yeah, because there's certain things on Disney Plus that are not available overseas. Because I mean, I think we've even talked about it here, where certain people overseas didn't get to watch WandaVision as we got to watch WandaVision. They had to wait a few months. So
at different times. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now, in whatever year this is, the audience wants action and seats with beverage holders, but mainly action.
well, my seat doesn't have a beverage holder.
Days of
Mine
Future
does.
Past.
Which is why I prefer to watch movies at home. I can recline. I got my drink right there in the recliner.
And I'm
And I don't
insulated
have
from
to
society.
deal with people.
I hear you, Debbie. I do.
No, you don't, because you keep making me go to the movies.
I don't.
I
never make you do anything. You keep putting this on me. You know what I usually say? I think it would be great if we could see them, so that way we could talk about them. But
maybe
if
we
you
should
can't,
go.
Then
you can just sit out or take it with the spoilers.
Yeah, Chris would be lost without me.
I don't know what I would do.
We wouldn't have any banter on the show.
My God, is it possible? It must be possible. It's happening. By the way, what's happening?
That's me every day. What's happening?
So, Dark Phoenix is terrible. Good fight scenes. Nightcrawler had some actually really good stuff in this, surprisingly dark stuff too. Magneto had some good fight scenes. That's what I liked about this movie. What did I like? There were some good fight scenes. Everything else was god awful. And you watched it. I mean, again, the thing with Jean, she doesn't even strike me as being emotional. And she's
Dang, lost him again. Well, okay, while he's paused, hey, Jeremy Pardue, I see you in the comments. Thank you for the subscribe and the like. And Geek News Now is about everything geek. Just Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, comic books.
Oh, that's not right. No.
And
He's
Sam
back.
Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell brings us back.
Thank goodness for Sam Rockwell.
Hey, buddy. Didn't expect to see you here.
Look, it's me. I'm here to deal with it. Let's move on.
I just
Drop it.
All right.
It's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on.
Thor, what do you know? Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
It's MCU Mondays.
I really need to get a bathrobe and cosplay that one. that Thor, I could pull that one off.
Now this I can do. Finally, a Thor that
just needs some hair extensions.
Finally,
you need to dye your hair, Chris.
Finally, a Thor that the common man can cosplay.
An everyman Thor, just what we always wanted. Agreed, Adam.
Yes.
Except for Peter Evans.
Title and everything. It's better than Apocalypto, although I don't know if I ever actually even saw that.
I don't think I did either.
Didn't sound fun.
Sure. Why don't we just find baby Thanos, and...
First of all, that's horrible.
It's Thanos.
It's Thanos.
It's Apocalypto.
I just so agree with War Machine here.
But that's not the way that time works.
I don't think Hulk knows what the hell he's talking about.
That's the way it works in the X-Men movies, but not anywhere else, apparently.
Oh, man, the X-Men movies. If people cared as much, about... The MCU clearly was trying to, connect things and make their own universe. They just did a better job than...
They failed miserably with the X-Men. And it's really sad because it could have been very good.
Yeah.
I mean, if they would have done Days of Future Past right, and to where the timeline changes actually made sense.
Well, and maybe we'll get to that point. It's just a matter of time. But the animated stuff, which again is under a different umbrella of ownership, but you get to see Spider-Man interacting with Wolverine, interacting with Fantastic Four, interacting with, the rest of the X-Men, interacting with the Avengers, interacting with all the properties. And that it just breaks my heart every time that I think that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is not going to get to be with Patrick Stewart, and there's a limited amount of time for this. If anything, the Star Wars sequels proved that there are icons in our lives right now that really hold a special place in people's hearts, and nobody lives forever. And you got to make the most of what you can. But no studio is going to listen to that argument. So
they're only worried about their precious money.
Their bottom line. How dare they? Well, why don't they listen to the fans? Well, because they care. They want money. Well, who gives them money? The fans. Well, then why don't they listen to the fans? Because they want money. Well, who gives them money? The fans. Well, why don't they listen to them?
It's all a vicious cycle.
Hey, Nostradamus.
Okay, Adam posed an interesting question down in the comments.
Hello.
We kind of discussed this not too long ago, and it's hard to...
Who would you want to play as Wolverine? And how good do you think they will be? I would be interested to see, because in this case, it's an entirely new casting situation, because you're not just worried about the X-Men, you're worried about the entirety of the breadth, because now that studios are coming together, it is going to be Fantastic Four along with X-Men in with the entire thing. You want to find the person that will fit in with all of that, as well as just the X-Men. And I wouldn't have an actor in mind per se. I wouldn't want a famous person actually to take that role. I would say you would put it on someone who shows a lot of potential for that specific role. and not someone who would be easily taken away at different points. But
I can only think of one person, and this is just on looks alone, because I'm not sure I've seen him in anything, but Scott Eastwood.
Scott Eastwood.
He kind of looks like a younger Hugh Jackman.
Scott Eastwood. That's Clint Eastwood's
son.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. My pick has always been Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, and mainly because
too old now.
I know he's too old,
but I agree with you.
I mean,
he's a wonderful actor. I love him.
He's got the demeanor. He's got the physique. He would have been perfect.
Wolverine, though.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
Come on, David. We're going to fight about this. Come on.
I like
you right now.
Norman Reedus, but I wouldn't agree with him for that role either.
No.
But I'll let you guys fight it out. Whoever wins, then maybe I'll fight that.
He wants to be Ghost Rider, which I think he's too old for that too. But
he's too old for anything right now, unfortunately.
But I could see him as Ghost Rider in his younger years.
I love the Boondock Saints, but I remember even when I watched the Boondock Saints 2, which has its own problems. Just seeing them both, I'm just like, dude, you guys got hit with the age hammer pretty hard there.
You know what? You mentioned that too, and Patrick Stewart he was a presenter at the Emmys, and he walked out on stage, and I was like, oh my God, he's turned into the character from Old Man Logan, and I was just like, he sounds awful. He sounds like he's dying, and it's like
he's aged.
He's old.
He got old, man.
It happens to the best of us.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, his voice. If you've watched Picard, which I don't know if you guys have or not, but his voice has really changed. He doesn't have that.
It's not the uppity.
Yeah,
uppity British accent.
It's a real weak.
Also, if you've been listening, or if you're a fan of The Simpsons, Marge, the actor for her, I just noticed and I've watched the entire Simpsons at least twice through, probably more, because I'm a person that does something like that. And I just noticed that when it gets into the later seasons, like the character of Marge, she sounds, even when she's talking regular, not when she's going for crazy, I'm worried about her. I just feel bad, and I'm just like, again, would The Simpsons go on forever? Yeah, but you can't go on forever with the original cast because people die.
Luke and I were having this exact conversation because we'd talked about a few weeks ago about them pushing everything back. Everything, not only Marvel, but everything Disney has been pushed back, X amount. And we were talking about Indiana Jones, the new Indiana Jones movie coming out, Indy 5, and I was like, you know what? I'm thinking about this, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more they need to make this happen. Indiana Jones needs to be like James Bond. You have one person play that character for 3 or 4 movies, and then somebody else step into the role and not necessarily reboot it, but just continue the individual stories.
Right.
There doesn't need to be any continuity with it all. You just tell an individual story in the movie. And I mean, Harrison Ford, God, he's 80 now or close to it. He's not going to go
74.
He's not going on forever. He'll
don't say that.
He'll crash his airplane into a freeway or something else. And
don't say that. He's my secret boyfriend.
Okay. I'm sorry for wishing bad things upon your boyfriend.
Reality aside, yes, people die. Or reality acknowledged, people die. I don't know. But no one can be around forever.
Sometimes you don't even have to be old.
You can't be an action hero.
Look at Paul Walker. I mean,
or Heath Ledger, both of them.
Yeah, still young, and I mean, just
or any number of people for different reasons.
River Phoenix,
Philip Seymour Hoffman, Chris Cornell, Kurt Cobain,
Jimi Hendrix.
Go on, but okay. I
like Jimmy.
Belushi.
Oh.
Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
There's no answer that's just like, hey, this will make everything correct, and there's no answer to what's the correct person to cast for a role or anything like that, but we can have our speculations.
And Wolverine in the comics is like, what, 5'3", so that kind of limits your acting pool.
But here, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury.
Another good point, though, and Debbie, you were just mentioning, isn't Wolverine really short? Well, isn't Tom Cruise also short in real life? But
don't you dare wish that
him
evil upon me.
appear.
If you put Tom Cruise in Wolverine, I will quit watching.
I'm not saying make Tom Cruise Wolverine. I'm not saying make him anything. I'm just saying, isn't he in real life not that tall? But
No,
with
he's
movie
not.
magic, don't they make him look as tall as anyone else or taller? Yes, they do. I don't submit. I was never submitting Tom Cruise for the role.
I
was using him as an example for another point that I was making. Although by your immediate response, I could tell how passionate you are, and you're right.
I like his movies. I just don't like him as a person.
I don't even like his movies.
Not even the Mission Impossible ones?
Just the first one. It's the only one.
Oh, man, I love those movies.
I like the soundtrack.
Had what was it? The second.
Wait, what?
I think it was the second one had the Metallica "I Disappear." Oh yes, I did enjoy the soundtracks.
They were good, but so are most of the soundtracks from the 80s. Anyway, I think that's clearly not about the X-Men. So
yeah, we kind of went off the rails as we normally do.
We're gonna call it a Monday night. An MCU Monday night. And we're going to see you next time.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Charles Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Just kidding. We'd never leave you like that.
Oh.